Penny's team needed a late run, a 12-0 run to get by Wichita State. 61-53 was the final score in that game. The Tigers now 5-1 in the AAC. They improved to 15-4 overall. Wichita not having a good year. A lot of this game they controlled. A bunch of lead changes back and forth. Wichita State now 1-5 inside the ACC. But for Memphis, PJ Haggerty was the star tonight. Was 8 of 11 from the field. Hit his free throws, finished with 22 points, and a big win for Penny. RC looked in doubt, but they found a way to race by a not so great Wichita State team tonight.
Listen, I would love to sit here and talk about how good Memphis looked, but they didn't look good. I thought this team didn't come out ready to play. And again, I think Paul Mills is a really good coach. I had Wichita State, last year. I don't think his team this year is as talented as the team he had last year, but his guys play hard for him. Memphis didn't show up to play, and it's concerning because this is the mentality this team has had no matter what's going on. I think when you watch this game, there were times Penny looked frustrated. The players looked like they were just kind of going through the motions, and they just hit the switch on the wall to try to elevate their play, and they won the game. But 20 turnovers, and of those 20, I think there was at least 10 to 12 of them were horrible turnovers. Just careless with the basketball. I would have liked them to come out and just dominate this game. And I know you're going to have certain games like that. You're not going to play your best. You're not going to shoot it well. But I didn't like the body language. I didn't like what I saw from Memphis today. And that's not just on Penny. You can see Penny's frustration with this group. You heard the guys talking about it, doing it, calling the game. Where's the leadership? Where is hey, guys, we're not going to let this happen. This is what everybody expects from this team once we get into conference play. This team has proven they could beat anybody on any given night when they're motivated. But to do damage in a tournament, this is concerning when you play the way they played today. There was nothing they got the win, but you can't feel good about that. I mean, I wouldn't dare say this team is treading toward what it was last year, but this performance looked like something that you saw last year, which was like the beginning of the end when that team just flipped and things just went south. So I hope I'm wrong. I'm a big Penny fan. I'm cheering for the Memphis Tigers, but this was just not, you're lucky to win this. I thought Wichita State played hard enough to at least get the win.
A better basketball team probably would have won that game, but Wichita just, quite frankly, isn't very good. And Paul Mills still in the process of trying to build that program. Jarrell, it wasn't a great look for Memphis, and they were, quite frankly, lucky to win. But at the end of the day, they found a way. They had momentum at the end, and you take it. You try to build into the next game. And for this Memphis team, the best thing you could say, they weren't ready to play. They didn't, they weren't engaged, but when it mattered, they found a way.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, RC hit it right on the head. I would love to come on here and just be a 20-point victory and be like, man, Memphis looks good. They came in, they were prepared. Everybody had a sense of urgency, and they handled business. They did what they were supposed to do. But it was really such a hard game to watch tonight because it was just so sloppy. Especially early on, and even in the second half, Memphis had 14 first half turnovers, and at home against a team Wichita State, which we already spoke to as a struggling team already and kind of on life support, just to come in and just look disinterested again. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this from them. And I think the biggest thing and the most concerning thing right now is that we starting to see is that it's becoming a trend. They're a team right now that plays to the level of their competition. As RC spoke to, they can beat anybody. We saw that out in Maui early on when they look like one of the best teams in the country, and we know that they got the ability and the players to look like that on any given night when they know that the stakes are high and it's a big stage and it's a major game and everybody's hyped up to play it. But at the same time, they had these nights where they look disinterested. They were constantly talking about it on the broadcast tonight, and I think they spoke to it just with the body language. You see the guys on the bench. They were in desperate need of just a spark, and they still haven't figured that out. And I think that's going to be the one kind of Achilles heel for this Memphis team is who's going to be that guy that's, when guys are looking like that, who's going to be the leader, pull guys together, or even just show and lead by that play on the court. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to provide that energy and that spark. And tonight it just felt like a night where it was brutal for the fans, because I felt like the fans were kind of just dragging them along, and eventually they were able to, get that run. And, obviously, like we said, Wichita State wasn't very good. They ended up doubling or ended up leading the game in turnovers still after Memphis turned it over 14 times in the game. But it was a game that had a combined 42 turnovers in it. So sloppy game. A win is a win. Obviously, it's not nothing you gonna gripe about or complain about too much, because sometimes you got to win ugly. That is what good teams do. But just a concerning trend for the Memphis Tigers, though, and this team is frustrating because we all know that they're talented enough to match up and play with anybody in the country.
We know that. We've seen that. We saw the body of work. I mean, you've referenced it. The wins against UConn. Michigan State still hasn't lost a game in the Big Ten, and they beat them, right? They played Auburn pretty tough for most of that game. They have a couple of puzzling losses. You look at this team's body of work. They beat Ole Miss. So they have been able to match up with some of the best teams in the country. Certainly when you look at them at times, they don't look engaged. I just wonder, what was your expectation for them? But pre-Maui, when you looked at Memphis, you go back to the preseason top 25 polls. They're not in them. I mean, nobody, after last year was really thinking much about this team. It's Penny's 7th year. Jarrell, what were they to you preseason? And are they better off now than you thought? Are they pretty much what you thought? And by the way, the field of 68 has them right now in the latest bracketology projected as of Monday. Now, we'll see what happens with the new one next week, but right now they're a 6 seed.
Right. Yeah, and I think I was actually pleasantly surprised. Over the last few years, I know that they have the means to go get talent and players, but my biggest thing with Memphis over the last couple of years, you just kind of got to see how it transpires and plays out on the court. How the group of guys that Penny has put together is going to kind of mesh together, and also, it not being great, but them having so much turnover, everything going on with the coaching staff as well. It was kind of just a show and prove thing, but after I seen them in Maui against the competition out there, I was impressed. I feel like still to this day, man for man, they're one of the best teams in the country from a talent standpoint. They got enough of the pieces. They got the right guys. They got size. They got great guard play, so they can match up with anybody. But as of right now, like RC said, you can't get that thought out of your head of what they kind of did last year when they kind of fell off of the cliff and things kind of just fell apart. And it was, not the same team. Obviously, it's built differently. And I think obviously they got, some better pieces in certain spots. But, you just don't want to see them fall off a cliff. But my biggest thing, and I was thinking about this during the game, and I just want to throw it over and see kind of like I feel like we're doing Memphis a disservice, man. They need to get out of the American, man. This is from a basketball standpoint, I feel like it doesn't really help them to play the non-conference they play is showing. I don't know exactly where. Big 12 would be a possibility, I would think. I think geographically you could throw them in the Big East, but with them having a football program, I don't really know how that would work either. But this is a really underrated fan base in college basketball, man. They get a ton of support. They got money. They got means for NIL and that type of stuff. And when the Memphis Tigers are good, college basketball is better. But for them to be able to get back to playing meaningful and good matchups around this time of year in the conference season, I don't know. I just feel like it's something that needs to happen for that program to consistently, because it's almost like a trap for them, man. Like, damn, you go back to conference after playing all of these hitters and guys are so excited to be on this stage, and then you got some of the teams that you roll through and places that you got to go to play in their conference, man. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Listen, I agree with what you're saying. I think the thing, let me be clear, the thing that concerned me about tonight's game, it isn't, you can have bad performances, right? They were everybody's Super Bowl in that league. I get that.
Yeah.
Two things concerned me. One was that the turnovers were just careless. I mean, horrible turnovers. And the second thing was, it was everybody's body language. There was a moment when Penny looked like he was just super frustrated with these guys. They looked really nonchalant themselves. It just didn't. It just looked like a group of guys that just felt like, all right, man, we're just out here because we have to be out here. Like, they didn't even have fun. And this is a good team. There's a lot of expectations. And I know you mentioned earlier we got them as a 6 seed. This team will make the tournament. But you want to see a level of maturity about them. But more importantly, this team looked like it wasn't even having fun. Like somebody was forcing them to be there. They were playing like a team, like their season was over with already. Like they're bad. We don't, we're not going anywhere. We're in a portal. This team has the ability. It's a whole new team. We know that's not the way Penny operates. He's able to get talent. It's a talented group. This team should be gelling and playing better as they get ready. As we get, we're nowhere near the stretch run or anything like that. But you expect this team to start playing better. They just had a reminder a couple of games ago with the loss to Temple. So they're not far removed from a loss that should have shaken them a little bit to make them come out and be ready to play. If this game was on the road, they lose. I don't think they win this game if it was on the road. I think they benefited from the crowd and just hit that switch the last 5 minutes. But those were the two things that concerned me the most. It was just the body language. Everybody, there seems to be a frustration. And the other thing is the turnovers, because that's back-to-back games where turnovers are becoming an issue. And with the level of guard play that Memphis has, I don't understand why they're turning the ball over with the poor decision making that we saw tonight.
Yeah, and I think